right. We are live. We're live. I didn't want to speak much on this situation because it was always funny style to me. I mean, come on, dog. We talking 27 years. 27 years since the death of Tupac Shakur. And let's say, what he died in what? 96? 16. Yeah, 27 years. It's been 27 years since we lost Tupac. And Las Vegas PD's finally made an arrest. Now, surprise to no one, Keefe D, who's been going on a world tour, recalling, speaking on the events that happened back in Las Vegas. Now, let's set the scene for a second because it's the night of the Tyson Sheldon fight. There was a lot that happened that night as far as, with Orlando Anderson, Tupac, Suge. They supposed to be going to Club 662. On their way to Club 662, allegedly a white Cadillac pulls up to the passenger side of Suge Knight's BMW and starts shooting in the car. Tupac is hit several times. Suge Knight is grazed by a bullet in his head. And about 7 days later, Tupac actually dies from his injuries from the gunshot wounds. There were a lot of rumors back then about certain things. One of the biggest rumors was that Suge Knight did it. Remember that? Remember when they kept force feeding the whole idea of Suge Knight being involved in the murder of Tupac Shakur because Tupac wanted to leave the label. There was documentaries, DVDs, so much. I guess like programming that Suge Knight was involved in. He sat in the car because again, this was a story that was sold to us. Suge Knight sat in the car while Tupac was being shot up right beside him. Again, Suge Knight is like 2 times the size of Tupac. And somehow he managed to not only get shot and killed also, but he wound up getting grazed in the head with a bullet. And he vowed never to, cooperate with the police on who he thought was responsible for the death of Tupac Shakur. And he's admitted that he's seen exactly who did it. He knows who did it, but he won't cooperate. And he's also said this: if you solve one murder as far as Tupac, then you solve the other murder as far as Biggie. But for years, almost for decades, everybody was being sold on the fact that Suge Knight not only had something to do with the death of Tupac, but they had something to do with the death of Biggie. But as of late, the recent events surrounding the death of Tupac and Keefe D being arrested, TMZ managed to get a phone interview with Suge Knight. And I'm going to play that interview right now. And he says some interesting things. Let's check it out.
What your reaction is to the arrest of Keefe D?
Well, surprise, number one, because I didn't think Keefe D would never get arrested. Nor do I want to see him get arrested. Let's get one thing straight, first and foremost. Me and Keefe D played on the same Pop Warner football team. And whatever the circumstances, if he had an involvement with anything, if he didn't have any involvement with anything, who want to see? I wouldn't wish somebody going to prison on my worst enemy.
The DA says that Keefe D was in the car with his nephew and that presumably...
Just want to pause it there for a second because that's how deep this thing goes. Suge Knight said that him and Keefe D played on the same Pop Warner football team. So they go way back. And throughout this, this short interview, he says that he doesn't want to see Keefe D in jail. Not only does he not want to see Keefe D in jail, he says that he didn't believe that Keefe D would ever go to jail. So he's throwing a lot of subliminals, a lot of hidden messages out there. But let's continue.
His nephew, according to the DA, is the one that shot Tupac, and that it was done with the full knowledge of Keefe. Do they have it right?
There was only two people in the car. And Pac not going to tell the story. I ain't going to tell the story, but I tell you this. And I never had nothing bad to say about Orlando because, number one, he wasn't a shooter. Number two, he came to my hearing and told to let me go and told the truth. They still didn't let me go.
All right. So even though Suge has said that he would never cooperate, he would never participate in anything that has to do with the investigation of Tupac, he just told Harvey that Orlando Anderson was not the shooter. Not only was he not the shooter, he has no issues with Orlando Anderson. Because again, you gotta understand, because we have to paint this picture. Suge Knight was sitting in that car too, and according to Suge Knight, because he said this in the past, he was also a target. He was also marked for dead along with Tupac. I mean, the bullets don't have no name. They shooting in the car, you sitting in it. Yeah, you could become a victim just like that. But I want y'all to digest this for a minute, because he said that Orlando Anderson came to his hearing. Again, this is documented proof. Orlando Anderson went to Suge Knight's parole hearing and tried to help him out and say, like, yo, Suge Knight wasn't a participant in me getting jumped that night. Told the truth, and they still locked Suge Knight up. Violated his parole. He wound up doing about 7 to 9 years. And that was kind of like the downfall of Death Row Records. But the fact that he said Orlando Anderson wasn't the shooter, again, it's only two people in the car, like he said. Him and Tupac. Tupac's not here to tell his side of the story anymore. Orlando Anderson isn't here to tell his side of the story anymore. But for the longest time, Keefe D and a detective by the name of Greg Caden has been telling y'all that Orlando Anderson was the shooter of Tupac Shakur. And the one eyewitness who was sitting right beside Tupac is on record saying that Orlando Anderson was not the shooter. So what does this mean for the case? I want y'all to think about this. Before Keefe D started going on tour and talking about the events that happened that night in Vegas, Greg Caden had already wrote a book and put together a documentary called Murder Rap. But before we get into Greg Caden's part in this, let's end this whole interview right here. Let's finish listening to this.
You are called to testify in this case?
I wouldn't be.
Why not?
Yeah, I wouldn't be.
Why not?
Well, number one, because I'm not going to get on the stand and testify on somebody for what?
They seem to be saying that Orlando was the shooter and Keefe was in on it, that he had full knowledge of what was going down, and it was revenge for Orlando getting beaten up by Tupac and his team at the MGM after the Tyson fight. Is that correct?
No.
Then who shot Tupac?
It wasn't Anderson, so that's all I got to say about that part.
To summarize, you are saying Orlando was not the shooter, although you won't say who the shooter was. You are not saying whether Keefe was involved in any way in the shooting. And you are saying that if you're called to testify by either side, you will not comply. You will not testify. Do I have that right?
1,000%. I wouldn't go. I wouldn't testify. None of that.
All right. In another interview, right? Because they did a part 2 to it. At the end of that phone call, Suge Knight actually screams, "Free Keefe D." And he said it about 2 or 3 times in this interview. Orlando Anderson was not the shooter. But that's what the FBI, the federal task force that was put together by LAPD, that's what they have on record. They have Orlando Anderson as the shooter, and they have 3 other men that was in that white Cadillac. Keefe D was one of them. Now, to go even further back, right? This whole FBI task force was put together by the LAPD largely due to the fact that Christopher Wallace's mother, the mother of Notorious B.I.G., she was suing the city of Los Angeles because she allegedly had evidence that the LAPD was involved in his murder, right? So LA puts together a federal task force basically to clear their name, because that's what it was. That's Greg Caden has admitted. They wanted to clear LAPD of any wrongdoing or any involvement in the death of the Notorious B.I.G. Because back then the rumor was that LAPD was involved. Suge Knight had paid some LAPD officers to carry out the hit on the Notorious B.I.G. And since the city of LA didn't want to lose, I mean, I think her lawsuit was for like almost $500 million, like $400 to $500 million. And Los Angeles County wanted no involvement in that. So they put together a task force headed by Greg Caden. And his job was to clear LAPD of any wrongdoing. And he even went as far as to giving Keefe D, a Southside Crip, immunity, a proffer agreement, because he wanted to clear LAPD of any wrongdoing. Now, a lot of people are getting on Keefe D about, self-snitching and putting out information and, talking about what happened that night. But he wasn't the first. I want to remind y'all of this guy. So back in 2002, there was a documentary film, just like one of the first Tupac and Biggie documentaries. Again, I'm going to play this video on fair use, but this is a guy who claims that he transported money from Suge Knight in the Los Angeles Police Department. And the money was for the hit on the Notorious Big. I'm gonna play this clip right here. Again, fair use. Let's check it out.
Frank.
This is Mark Hyland, the bookkeeper. He's up for 37 counts of impersonating a lawyer.
In February of '96, several LAPD officers, including Rafael Perez, Nito Durden, and David Mack, were at Fritz's in Bellflower, which is a gentleman's club, a topless bar. And at that meeting was also a gentleman, a rapper, Suge Knight, and some of his other associates and everything. And there was, in a nutshell, there was a hit taken out on Notorious B.I.G. They were talking about planning on how to get the monies and the weapons together. One of the individuals, I do not recall who said, "Why don't we just get them from evidence like you normally do?" And they all kind of laughed and chuckled and everything. At that point, my jaw about dropped, realizing that, yeah, there's a lot of booze going around here and a lot of drugs going around, but these guys seem very serious. I mean, they were serious.
All right, before we continue, right? He said February of 96. Mind you, Suge Knight was arrested shortly after the Tyson fight, the whole melee with Orlando Anderson. And this guy's claiming that Suge Knight was on the premises when there was a meeting between these LAPD officers, Suge Knight, and himself to take out a hit on Biggie Smalls. I just want to, put that out there first.
Subsequently, I got immunity on this, right?
Federal immunity.
Basically, I then I transferred.
Did y'all catch that? That's very important. I'm going to rewind it. He looked over to his lawyer and said, I have immunity on this, right? And his lawyer said, you have federal immunity. Sounds familiar, correct? Because Keefe D, remember, Keefe D had federal immunity.
Rafael Perez, Nito, Durden, and David Mack, it's and everything. And there was, in a nutshell, there was a hit taken out on Notorious B.I.G. They were talking about planning on how to get the monies and the weapons together. One of the individuals, I do not recall who said, "Why don't we just get them from evidence like you normally do?" And they all kind of laughed and chuckled and everything. At that point, my jaw about dropped, realizing that, yeah, there's a lot of booze going around here and a lot of drugs going around, but these guys seem very serious. I mean, they were serious. Subsequently, I got immunity on this, right?
Federal immunity.
Basically, I then I transported.
Mark, you have federal immunity. This is what we talked about before these people came in.
Right.
You do not have a district attorney. You do not have immunity from the state. Okay?
Okay. But I transported monies interstate between Los Angeles and Phoenix to arrange the hit on Biggie Small.
And how many times would you say that you met with Suge Knight?
Just a few.
A few.
I never sat down, and I never really knew who he was.
I want to rewind it just 1 second because I had to take a phone call. It was a very important dialogue.
Get the monies and the weapons together. Get the monies and the weapons between Los Angeles and Phoenix to arrange the hit on Biggie Small.
And how many times would you say that you met with Suge Knight?
Just a few.
A few.
I never sat down, and I never really knew who he was. I mean, I just knew that he demanded a lot of respect from people. It wasn't until recently that I learned who he is and what he's done. And that's why, like I said, I wish I was making it all up, because I don't know what my life is going to be when I get out.
And why did you decide to come forward with this information?
Guilt. it was wrong. And I didn't want to be involved anymore.
All right, so he claims that in '96 he sat down with '96. Tupac was killed when? September of '96. So, if I'm correct, that means Suge Knight was looking. Hold on, let me look this up. Let me look this up because the timeline seems a little off here from his story. Because if Tupac died in September of 1996. So that would mean, if his story is correct, that would mean that Suge Knight and these police officers were trying to take out a hit on Biggie Smalls before the death of months. February, March, April, May, June, July, August. 7 months prior? Really? Really? Just want to make sure, just for laughs and giggles. Just want to make sure that that's what was said.
Bookkeeper.
Sorry.
He's up for 37 counts of impersonating a lawyer.
In February of '96,
You can't make this shit up. Can't make this shit up. Biggie Smalls doesn't live in L.A. Biggie Smalls was not living in L.A. at the time. So you got to think, how would they put together a murder, move around money, do all of this 7 months prior to Tupac dying and almost a whole year prior to Biggie Smalls actually showing up in Los Angeles at a vibe party? You really got to be careful. But see, this was during the era where they was trying to get you to believe that Suge Knight had something to do with both murders. This was during that era. And, some of us, we didn't understand what we was listening to back then. We really didn't. We was just so locked in and so infatuated with the sensationalizing of these two young rappers being killed that we were just entertained by it all. Wasn't even listening. Tupac didn't get shot until September of 1996. But this dude said in February of 96, Suge Knight and a couple of police officers were looking to put out a hit on the Notorious B.I.G. Now, for whatever reason, this guy never comes up in anything no more. He doesn't. He was labeled as having paranoid schizophrenia and all kinds of other shit, because that throws a monkey wrench into everybody's story. If the whole narrative was to be pushed that Suge Knight had something to do with it, he just fucked everything up. So it's on the plan B, right? They found another crash test dummy in Keefe D. And again, Greg Caden had already put out a book, a documentary, claiming that Keefe D and the Southside Crips, along with his nephew Orlando Anderson, killed Tupac Shakur. But they put a little bit of spice on top of it also. They said Puff Daddy had a hit out on him. I mean, like this rabbit hole runs deep. Biggie was in Las Vegas that night. I mean, it's so much, so many layers to this whole entire situation. They want us confused. They want us looking. You have the one witness there stating that Orlando Anderson wasn't the shooter. As a matter of fact, I fuck with Orlando Anderson. He came to court, told the truth on how I had nothing to do with him being jumped. But conveniently enough, Orlando Anderson's uncle, who's writing a book, selling a book, and going on an interview tour with Djvlad, Cam Capone, or the Dialogue, all these people. He's getting famous off of claiming that he was in the car with his nephew Orlando Anderson as he shot Tupac Shakur. But during this big money grab, the Las Vegas PD is building a case. I want y'all to understand something too. Keefe D, who was a Southside Crip from South Central Los Angeles, Compton, California, whatever, he now resides in Las Vegas. How ironic. Just after killing the most famous, biggest rapper of all time, he moves in the same city where the crime scene at. Like, I'm telling you, you can't make this shit up. You really cannot make none of this shit up. And they built the case. They built the case against him. A lot of that case is built off the fact that he's been everywhere talking about this shit. Now, you've seen this guy. You've seen his lawyer sitting in an interrogation room with him, right? And he's quick to correct him and tell him the difference between federal immunity and state immunity. He's sitting right there. You're telling me Keefe D, who's writing books, going on all these, nobody's giving him legal advice, even though he got federal immunity? You mean to tell me that this guy did not know anything about not having state immunity? Really? I mean, like, I'm telling you, you cannot make none of this shit up. You can't. Nevertheless, Keefe D has been arrested for the murder of Tupac Shakur 27 years later. I wonder what was stopping the state of Nevada and Las Vegas police department from bringing up these charges anyway against Keefe D. And how come Djvlad? We got to talk about Djvlad, dude. I mean, this dude, for a couple years now, he's been claiming that he is responsible for solving the Tupac and Biggie Smalls murder. Now, I want to play this interview with Djvlad. He appeared on Piers Morgan, a big international platform. But I'm gonna go ahead and share this screen right now because this guy Djvlad, man, he just doesn't. I mean, there's no shame in some of these cats' game no more. Like it's crazy. It's crazy. Let's check this out.
Artist of all time was gunned down in Las Vegas in 1996. Well, on Friday, Dwayne Keefe D. Davis was indicted on one count of murder with a deadly weapon in relation to the killing. Djvlad, a major commentator in the hip-hop industry for years, admitted that police in Las Vegas asked him to help their investigation after he interviewed Keefe D for his own show. And Djvlad
And you
joins
said
me
Tupac
now.
pulled out a gun.
It looked like he was reaching, yeah. Yeah, it did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you actually see a gun?
No, shit. Once he got the reaching, I got the ducking.
So someone from your car
That's what happened.
started shooting at Tupac and Suge.
So Orlando shot across Dre?
He leaned over on the window. We rolled down the window, pop.
Who was it?
They was drove on my side. I was popping. You know what I'm saying? But they was on the other side.
Right.
Do y'all also find it weird, right? This is that was a federal interrogation. Now, according to most, you don't get cameras in the courtrooms with the feds. And the feds usually don't release information on open investigations. They just don't do shit like that. But for whatever reason, this guy, Greg Caden, was able to write a book, put out Keefe D's whole entire interrogation and made it to the public. I mean, because Keefe D had a suit, Greg Caden got all that money from the murder rap book, the murder rap documentary. Like nobody don't see anything wrong with none of this shit. Let's see what Vlad got to say.
Well, Djvlad joins me now. Djvlad, thank you very much indeed for joining the show.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
I know you've studied this case for so long, and these interviews that you did with Keefe D, they've turned out to be extremely significant in this investigation, leading, in fact, to him being arrested and indicted. When you heard that news, how did you feel?
Well, I mean, the goal wasn't really to get anyone arrested. It was really just to get the truth of the matter. The story about Orlando Anderson killing Tupac, I've known since around 2007. So this was essentially the worst kept secret in LA. Everyone knew about it, but there were no arrests, there was no convictions, there was no anything, there was no actual proofs. There was a lot of conspiracy theories around it. So around 2008, when I first heard the Keefe confession tapes that Greg Kading got, then I found out there was a book that was about to come out. I got a hold of Keefe D and his co-writer, and we scheduled an interview, and we just went from there.
I mean,
so again, Djvlad had put it out there that Greg Kading had put the interrogation tapes out. He put out a federal interrogation tapes where he offered a guy, immunity, but still put the interrogation out there so you could hear it, from the horse's mouth. Then he heard a book was being released. Mind you, Greg Kading's book was released first. Greg Kading's documentary was released first. Man, they crash test fucking dummy.
He appears to have incriminated himself in this interview, certainly the last one. Did you believe he was doing that as you interviewed him?
Well, I think that he believed that he had a level of immunity when he did the proffer agreement. I think at the time he was saying that he had cancer, so maybe he didn't think he had much time to live. So he was just kind of letting it loose at that point. But, it was a little bit crazy that he actually sat down and we did everything. And when I asked him about it, sometimes he would try to dodge certain questions, but ultimately I used the book as a blueprint. So whenever a question wouldn't get answered, I said, well, the book said X, Y, and Z. And then at that point, he kind of went along with what was written in the book.
Oh, God. This dude, DJ, he just showed y'all how he basically entrapped Keefe D. He basically told y'all how he entrapped him. You know what I'm saying? Because Keefe D always had plausible deniability. Even with the book, y'all, I'm telling y'all, the book could be, a form of entertainment, just like these interviews. He could have labeled it, a fiction, you know, based on true events, but you know, certain things have been changed. You know what I'm saying? But good old Djvlad was able to get everything out of him by entrapping him. How ironic. There was something else Vlad said. You know, I lost my train of thought real fast. It was something else he said. Hold on one second.
Well, the book said X, Y, and Z, and then at that point he kind of went along with the, you know, what was written in the book.
It's been reported that you have resisted efforts by the police to hand over all the unedited tapes. Is that true? And if so, why?
Yeah, it's true. I mean, ultimately, people that we have on our show, we don't turn around and cooperate against those same people with the police. For me,
let's not be naive, y'all. If the feds wanted to subpoena these unedited tapes, they could easily just do that. And it's not, if Vlad can't say we're not cooperating with, like, just stop it, dude. Just stop it. You already did the footwork for the police. Keefe D tried to, you know, not snitch on himself, and you use, well, you know, you said in the book this, and you gotta, like, come on, bro, like let's stop playing these games. You trying to play like you're not on this side, or you're just protect. Like, let's stop it, dude. Let's stop it. We're not here to get nobody arrested. Okay, why are you entrapping this man? Why are you even interviewing him? Why don't you just buy his book and read it, motherfucker? Why you had to bring him on the show and have him tell on himself? But you want us to sit up here and believe that you wouldn't cooperate with the cops if they can. Dude, stop it. If these unedited videos was that important to their case, only thing they have to do is subpoena it. And you're going to give it right up. You're going to give it up, dude. Let's stop playing these games, man. We got to stop trusting these motherfuckers. You know, for the life of me, how many more examples do y'all need about going on Djvlad's platform? I mean, you got ARAB, Keefe D, Rollo, Taxstone. Who's the other guy? It was another kid, battle rapper. What's the guy name? From New Jersey. He got a RICO case all of a sudden. Like, can we stop playing these games, man? I mean, Boozy. I did a live stream a few months ago about like, let's stop playing these games, man. Like, obviously, what you say can and will be used again. Yeah, Sue Surf, thanks. Lugwig 215. Look, Sue Surf. Everybody going on this man's platform is catching cases, man. His whole tactic, his tactics just scream federal agent. Like, let's stop playing games, man. He just told y'all, like, yeah, if you try to bounce around my questions, I'm just going to use the book that you wrote in your own words as a way of getting what I want you to say. I mean, where do you learn that type of shit from? You know, that again, I explained to y'all a long time ago. That's how they work. You know, they get you comfortable. You know, it's friendly. It's no reason to lie to us. We have everything right here, dude. That's how they work. Like, you're gonna tell us that that's not what happened? You wrote it in the book. Again, I'm just a YouTuber, a former DJ. I don't mean no harm to you. Just go ahead. Yeah, you already wrote it in the book, right? Yeah, it's already in the book. So yeah, you could tell me. I ain't gonna tell nobody. I got 4 million subscribers on YouTube. They ain't gonna. Hey, come on, man. Y'all, this is crazy. This is crazy. It's crazy how these motherfuckers, they'll come on here. Really, they will piss on your fucking leg and tell you it's fucking raining. This is crazy. But that shows you how vulnerable people are. people are very vulnerable. Keefe D saw Greg Caden going out here making all this money. They pray for it. It's all bullshit. It's all about entertainment now. He's selling books, he's selling documentaries. I might as well go out and get some of this money too. But he didn't know. And again, you mean to tell me that nobody advised Keefe D? We just saw the other video where the guy's sitting in the interrogation room and his lawyer's sitting right there and he's explaining to him, you have federal immunity. You don't have state. We can't protect you from the state. But we can protect you from that. But we can't do that. Djvlad, come on here. I think Keefe D had it misconstrued. Really? Because I'm going to tell you one thing, right? When Greg Caden was doing these interviews, when Greg Caden was selling the murder rap book and the murder rap DVD, people asked him questions. They said, hey, how come nobody's arrested? If you got this guy confessing to the murder, how come he's not arrested? How come Puff's not arrested? He explained. He said, well, we gave him a proffer agreement. We made him queen for a day. When it came to Puff, he said, nobody's going to want to take on the case. He's too much of a high-profile name. He has money. Y'all should have known he was full of shit then. Bill Cosby, O.J. Simpson. I mean, come on, that don't stop nothing. But again, that's the story they wanted y'all to believe. That's the story that they was presenting to y'all. That, yeah, you know, Keefe D, he has a proffer agreement. But all these years later, now that Keefe D's indicted, oh, well, you know, he read the proffer. He didn't know what, you know, the difference between federal and state immunity. Stop it, nigga. Because it was okay for him to come on your platform with his federal proffer agreement and talk about the murder. You mean to tell me, Vlad, you didn't? Oh, yeah, you're fine. You got federal immunity. You can say whatever you want to say. You wrote a book. Why not? Yeah, y'all don't see how y'all getting played? Y'all don't see how this motherfucker's playing y'all? I mean, really, y'all don't see it? This wasn't I can guarantee you this was not Djvlad's tone when he was bugging Keefe D for an interview. Oh, you can come. Oh, you got federal immunity. You can come on here and I just talked to Greg Caden. Yeah, I mean, you know, you're protected, so you could say it. You could say what you want to say. But yeah, this is crazy. This is just crazy. He got to trust me. I guarantee you, Djvlad got a block long of dudes ready to go in there and snitch on themselves, ready to just go in there, tell all their business and get indicted. And what he gonna do? He gonna sell you out. He on Pierce Morgan right now, talking about how Keefe D didn't understand his immunity. What? But now you trying to sit up here and say you knew the whole time, and you still let that motherfucker? Yo, man, stop it. These aren't live interviews, y'all. These are pre-recorded interviews. If he really gave a fuck about Keefe D or any of his other guests, he wouldn't allow him to go up there and get himself arrested. He wouldn't have done that shit. This is crazy.
Just in terms of business-wise and my ethics and so forth, I just feel there's something wrong. So when Las Vegas police reached out to me multiple times, I just never responded. I think what they did ultimately want was the raw footage. That was an email that they sent after a couple of phone calls when unanswered. Ultimately, if you know the style of our footage, everything that we film gets released. So I think there's a little bit of a barking up the wrong tree situation, but maybe they thought there was a gotcha on there in the footage that was unreleased, which I'm not aware of it since everything did get released. But ultimately, we don't cooperate with the police. And, you know, we've had situations where police have tried to get footage from us and we've had our lawyers step in and actually block it.
Are you concerned? I mean, it's, I've done many interviews, including crime interviews, actually, over the years. And there's always a certain element of concern as an interviewer when you stray into that kind of territory about repercussions from people involved. I mean, given there's now been an indictment here, are you worried about repercussions against you?
I don't worry about doing my job. I've been doing Vlad TV for 15 years now. We've covered a lot of very serious issues. We've interviewed like mass murderers like Sammy the Bull and so forth. So
of course, this guy, he ain't got not a bone of integrity in his body. We got to get this clown out of here. Let's get this clown out of here. Put you on timeout. Like somebody jealous. Are you retarded, dude? This is what I'm saying, man. So many people out here, they sheep. You'll believe anything anybody will tell you. You think they really solved the murder of Tupac Shakur? Do you see what's really going on here? You're being sold a story. These people are just giving you what you think you want to hear. Oh, yeah, they got Keefe D. Man, listen. We've been heard of Orlando Anderson. You think if the investigators was really doing their job, it would have took them 27 years? 27 years to arrest a motherfucker that's willing to tell everything? Like, y'all cannot be serious. Yo, if you that's like you believing that Keefe D is this stand tall motherfucker that don't cooperate. What? We see this dude talking all the time. He can't stop talking. Look, Keefe D, if Keefe D wasn't arrested, he'll be doing an interview right now. He would be doing an interview right now if he didn't get arrested. But you believe that it took Las Vegas PD 27 years because everybody was just keeping their mouth shut. But over the last, 10 to 12 years, everybody seems to be running their mouth about what happened to Tupac and Biggie. Yo, man. It's when I hear stuff like this, I just think it's no hope for humanity. There's no hope. It's no hope. For you to sit up here and think that it would have took them 27 years to finally arrest Keefe D, a motherfucker that's been talking and just bragging and just boosting about this shit. Just out of nowhere, oh, we're going to arrest Keefe D. Like, stop it, dude. Stop it. You think they finally got, motherfucker, they just created all of this shit, and now they're going to execute it, nigga. Signed, sealed, delivered, nigga. That's all that's happening right now. Some shit that they breadcrumb. See, because this is the thing, they already got Suge. They got Suge for 28 years. They got Suge Knight for 28 years. So remember, that was the narrative. That was the narrative, but they couldn't get nobody. They couldn't get nothing on him like that. They couldn't get, the evidence, the cooperation. You know what I'm saying? Because motherfuckers that knew this, like Suge and Pac, they was kind of cool, bro. They wasn't. Suge wouldn't have did that shit. I mean, they almost had y'all believing that Suge Knight sat in the car right next to Tupac as he planned on somebody else pulling up and shooting and killing him. They almost got y'all to believe that. But when that plan fell up, enter Keefe D, enter Greg Kate. Because that first plan with Suge Knight backfired on them. Because Miss Wallace was about to take him for $500 million. Like, oh yeah, that's what happened. So you telling me that Suge Knight and his hired LAPD police officers killed my son? Oh yeah, all of y'all going down. They said, wait a minute. No, we can't do that now. We abort mission. Once that plan backfired, task force come in. Oh, we found the new crash test dummy. His name is Keefe D, the uncle of Orlando Anderson. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's no hope for you. If y'all don't see this shit, I just showed y'all the interview back in 2002. The dude sitting in jail, claiming that he met with Suge Knight and LAPD police officers in 1996, February 1996, to kill Biggie Smalls. They was going to run with that narrative, y'all. That was a narrative that's the narrative they was going to run with. Let me pull this back up. Let me pull this because we got a few more people in the building. Let's pull this interview back up because this is what they wanted y'all to believe back in the early 2000s when they kept saying Suge Knight got Tupac and Biggie killed. They said Suge Knight got Tupac killed because Tupac wanted to lead a label and Suge Knight hired Pookie. Remember the nigga Pookie on the bike? They said Suge Knight hired Pookie, another nigga that's dead, can't defend himself. That's what they told y'all, right? Let's listen to this dude. Because this is the story that they wanted y'all to believe at first. Hold on.
Frank.
Mark in there.
This is Mark Hyland, the bookkeeper. He's up for 37 counts of impersonating a lawyer.
In February of '96, several LAPD officers, including Rafael Perez, Nito Durden, and David Mack, were at Fritz's in Bellflower, which is a gentleman's club, a topless bar. And at that meeting was also a gentleman, a rapper, Suge Knight, and some of his other associates and everything. And there was, in a nutshell, there was a hit taken out on Notorious B.I.G. They were talking about planning on how to get the monies and the weapons together. One of the individuals, I do not recall who, said, "Why don't we just get them from evidence like you normally do?" And they all kind of laughed and chuckled and everything. At that point, my jaw about dropped, realizing that, yeah, there's a lot of booze going around here and a lot of drugs going around, but these guys seem very serious. I mean, they were serious. Subsequently, I got immunity on this, right?
Federal immunity.
Basically, I then I transported.
Mark, you have federal immunity. This is what we talked about before these people came in.
Right.
You do not have district attorney. You do not have immunity from the state.
So y'all see what's going on, right? This was the first crash test dummy. This dude right here, this white man right here, was the first crash test dummy. The same shit, the same thing they use with Keefe D. Same thing they use with Keefe D. They use with him. Now, his story backfired because his story involves the LAPD. His story puts Miss Wallace, it makes her a millionaire. This was the first story that they wanted the public to run with. And I guess Suge Knight was going to go to jail for the murders of not just Tupac Shakur, but Biggie Smalls. But this dude fucked it up. He said in February of '96, Tupac was shot in September of 96. Biggie Smalls wasn't killed until 97, y'all. Wasn't killed until 97. So yeah. It took him 27 years. 27 years to convince y'all that, oh, we finally found, like, come on, man. Like, this, y'all cannot be this silly. Y'all just can't. I see through all this bullshit. This shit is low-key scary as fuck, too, because, my God. they just tell it, they just show you, like, yo, we can get anybody to say any kind of bullshit on camera. And most of the people will believe this shit. You saw the lawyer face, he's scratching his nose. He's like, dude, you got federal immunity. You don't have district attorney, you don't have immunity from the state. The same way that they got Keefe D, they was trying to get this dude. Go on this camera. Go. Let these people come interview you in jail. We're going to bring a camera crew to the jail. Your lawyer's going to be sitting right there, and you're going to talk about how Suge Knight and 2 other Compton PD officers, LAPD officers, gave you money to transport to kill the notorious B.I.G. Unfucking believable. Unfucking believable. But then Miss Wallace came with the reverse Uno card and said, oh, really? This because, you know, Miss Wallace was in the same documentary. Russell Poole was in the same documentary. So Miss Wallace took this information and she sued the city. She didn't sue Suge Knight. She sued the city of Los Angeles and the police department for almost $500 million. And before she could do it, they put a halt to, they said, whoa, no. We're going to put together a task force to clear the name of the LAPD. Greg Caden comes in. He finds another crash test dummy. Hey, Keefe D, you got these drug charges on your head. I'm going to need you to go on this tape and talk about how you, your nephew, and 2 other people shot Tupac Shakur. We're going to give you federal immunity. And it's going to clear the LAPD of any involvement. Because there's more, it's so much more to that story. It's so much, because according to Keefe D, if you listen to the original Keefe D interrogation tapes, he claims that Puffy, through the guy named Eric Von Zip, was supposed to pay him $1 million to kill Tupac and Suge Knight. Puffy never gives him the money. He sees him at the same Vibe Awards show, because that was another story that they were supposed to tell you. Because according to, anybody ever see All Eyes on Me? Where Reggie White Jr. in that movie, the actor that portrays him claims that, I thought some Southside Crips killed Biggie because Puffy didn't pay him. Because that was another layer, supposed layer to this story. Oh yeah, Keefe D saw Puff and Big at the Vibe Awards and was expecting his money, and since he didn't get his money, they killed Biggie. And again, this is before Suge Knight got 28 years. This is before Suge Knight got 28 years. But now that they got Suge, we might as well just go ahead and let Keefe D fall on the sword. They're not even talking about Biggie's murder no more. Y'all notice that? Y'all notice that, right? And again, Suge Knight is on record telling you, if you solve one crime, you'll solve the other. It doesn't take a rocket science to see what's going on here. Suge Knight, again, as of yesterday, Free Keefe D. Why is Suge Knight saying free Keefe D? Why is Suge Knight telling y'all I ain't got no issues with Orlando Anderson? He's not. Suge Knight is on the record saying Orlando Anderson is not the shooter. Why would he want to take up for a dead man? I mean, this is deep, y'all. This rabbit hole is real deep. So deep that I don't even want to talk about it no more. To be honest with y'all, I really don't. I'm just gonna leave this live stream right here. Y'all could come back and y'all could decipher it and y'all could, figure it out for yourselves. Hopefully y'all see the light. Hopefully y'all will see the light. But I've been on here an hour. I've had enough of this shit. It's depressing as fuck. I'm going to get off of this motherfucker. I'm ready to cut my internet off. This shit is just crazy. But everybody have a blessed day. I'm not going to be the one to sit up here and scream Keefe D. I'm not going to do that because I don't know what happened. I don't know the truth about any of this shit. Only thing I know is this. Something's not adding up. Something's not adding up. And when I look at the whole picture, when I go back, because this documentary is from 2002. That interview with this guy is all I need to know. Like, wow. First crash test dummy failed, and y'all found another one. Unbelievable, y'all. Everybody have a blessed day. Be safe until next time. Peace.